Hey guys, welcome back to Crime Conundrum. Today, we're diving into a chilling case that'll leave you on the edge of your seat. Imagine uncovering not just one, but 4 shocking secrets surrounding the horrifying acts of this Ohio dad. Let's delve into it. It was a sunny summer day, and the kids were outside playing just like any other day. But little did they know their dad, Chad Doerman, was about to do something unimaginable. You see, according to prosecutors, Chad's behavior on that day was beyond bizarre. He came home from work early, which is already raising eyebrows. And then he does something that's straight out of a horror movie. He grabs a Bible and starts pacing around the house, muttering to himself. Can you believe it? Just walking around holding onto a Bible, talking to himself like he's possessed or something. But it gets even scarier. Chad heads to the gun safe in the master bedroom. Now imagine being his wife, witnessing all of this. She tells him he's scaring her and that she doesn't like what he's doing. And who could blame her? It's bone-chilling to think about what must have been going through Chad's mind that day. And tragically, it was the last day those 3 little boys would ever see. Chad is facing the death penalty for their murders. It's a heartbreaking story that reminds us that sometimes even the brightest days can hide the darkest secrets. So here's what went down next. According to the document, Chad's wife planned to call his parents because she was worried about his strange behavior. But when she mentioned it to Chad, he just brushed it off, saying he was just kidding and playing around. Can you believe that? His wife was understandably freaked out by his actions, so she decided to stick around with one of the boys in the room. But then, things took a horrific turn. Chad got out of bed, grabbed a .22 caliber rifle from the gun safe, and shot one of his sons. She immediately called 911 and tried to help her wounded son, while also trying to protect the other boys. But Chad didn't stop there. He chased down the other boys and shot them too. Can you imagine the fear and desperation in that moment? Even his stepdaughter wasn't spared from his madness. She tried to run for help with one of the boys, but Chad demanded she put the boy down, and when she did, he shot him too. When the police arrived, they found Chad sitting on the front steps of his home, rifle by his side, calm as can be. He didn't resist when they took him into custody, and chillingly, he calmly stated that no one else was left in the house. Now, you might be wondering why prosecutors are suddenly dropping all this info about Chad Doerman coming home early from work, walking around with a Bible and saying weird stuff like, quote, "Chad's always right." Well, buckle up because a lot has happened since Doerman was first charged with murdering his sons last summer. One big thing you need to know: the judge in charge of Doerman's case granted his request to suppress his interviews with law enforcement. That means the jury won't get to see it. So why is this a big deal? Well, that interview could have been a crucial piece of evidence for the prosecution. It could have shed some light on what was going through Doerman's mind that fateful day. But now, with it being suppressed, the jury won't have that insight. It's a twist in the case that leaves a lot of questions unanswered, and it's something we've been keeping you updated on right here on Crime Conundrum. So earlier this year, Michael Ross testified about his conversations with Chad Doerman after he was arrested. Here's what went down. Several times, Doerman mentioned talking with a lawyer. Detective Ross detailed one of his exchanges with Doerman. He brought up a woman named Ruby Franklin, who Doerman claimed was in the CIA. Turns out, Ruby Franklin was someone Doerman used to know. Now, about the Bible Doerman was carrying around, Detective Ross had some questions. He asked Doerman about a passage in the Bible that talks about killing your firstborn, secondborn, and thirdborn. But Doerman didn't kill his wife, so it was a bit puzzling. Detective Ross found this comment pretty important and wanted Doerman to explain. But Doerman cut him off and said, quote, "I'll just wait for a lawyer. I don't know, give me a couple of days. I'll talk to a lawyer and get nice good answers." He said all of that pretty quickly in one breath. It's a revealing glimpse into Doerman's state of mind after his arrest, and it's something that could be pretty crucial in understanding what went down that day. So here's the latest twist in the story. All this talk by Doerman about wanting a lawyer led Judge Richard to throw out this interview with law enforcement. The judge found that Doerman had asked for a lawyer, no ifs or buts about it. Now, what does this mean? Well, it means that Doerman's other statements during that interview can't be used against him at trial anymore. It's a big win for his defense team and a setback for the prosecution. According to Michael Ross at another point, Doerman was saying, almost like under his breath, "What the heck did I do?" And then he muttered again, "What the heck did she let me do?" He seemed to be questioning what he had done. There was another moment when it looked like he was checking the back of his shirt for blood. And then he started looking around and said, "Where's the cameras? Where's the cameras?" It was like he was searching for surveillance cameras. Detective Ross's questioning of Doerman after he requested a lawyer was deemed a violation of his rights by Judge Richard. Subsequently, Doerman changed his plea from simply denying guilt to pleading not guilty by reason of insanity or mental disease or defect. Essentially, this means he acknowledges committing the crime, but claims that due to severe mental illness at the time, he was unaware it was wrong. Ohio's standard for insanity cases, as explained by criminal defense attorney Andrea Burkhart, revolves around whether the individual comprehends the distinction between right and wrong, rather than solely focusing on mental illness or reality detachment. So in this case, the jury's main job is to figure out if Doerman knew that what he was doing was wrong when he committed those awful killings, including information about Doerman's actions before the crime could affect how the jury sees his ability to tell right from wrong. From the prosecution's perspective, this kind of evidence might weaken Doerman's insanity defense. It's a crucial aspect of the case that could sway the jury's decision one way or the other. In cases like this, when a defense team pleads not guilty by reason of insanity, they're saying their client did the act but shouldn't be held legally responsible because of their mental state. This defense argues that people who aren't mentally fit at the time of the crime aren't as responsible as those who are thinking clearly. It's a legal approach rooted in tradition, common in many places, including the United States. In Doerman's case, this strategy could decide if he goes to prison or a mental institution, making the trial's outcome crucial. According to Burkhart, in this case, certain statements made by Doerman, like "Chad is always right," could potentially be useful for the defense. It could help show that Doerman isn't capable of making rational evaluations. However, because these statements have been suppressed, if the defense wants to use them, it might open the door for the prosecution to use the rest of the interview's contents. This includes information that could be damaging to Doerman's case. So, the defense faces a strategic choice in how they present their case on insanity. Burkhart's words show that keeping some statements out of the trial makes things tough for Doerman's defense. These statements could help prove Doerman's mental issues, but if they use them, the prosecution might bring in other damaging evidence. So the defense has to think hard about how to handle this situation. They need to balance the possible benefits with the risks before making any decisions. During the interview with law enforcement, which the jury will never see, Doerman denied killing his son several times. But he never denied shooting his sons that day, not even once. It's all a bit confusing, right? On one hand, Doerman's lawyers are saying he was totally out of his mind that day. But prosecutors are arguing that he knew exactly what he was doing and did it on purpose. Now, Doerman made a statement during the interview saying, quote, "Chad knows what's right, and he was carrying around a Bible." That changes things a bit, doesn't it? Doerman pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity, saying he didn't know right from wrong. But saying Chad knows what's right might suggest he did know what he was doing. It's a real head-scratcher. Doerman's lawyers are gearing up for trial, getting another psychological evaluation to show what his mental state was like when he committed the murders. His trial is set to start in July, and it's getting a lot of attention. There's so many more jurors than usual, and the prosecution even wants the jury to visit the home where the shootings happened. It's called a jury view, and it's a big deal in cases like this. So we'll be keeping a close eye on this case and keeping you updated every step of the way. Thanks for tuning in to this edition of Crime Conundrum. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and don't forget to subscribe for more updates. See you next time.